The New Testament teaches that Jesus was raised from the dead on the third day at least 8 times, or in 3 days. That phrase appears about 3 times, after 3 days once, and once Jesus says that he would be raised from the dead after 3 days and 3 nights. But note that for Matthew, the phrases in 3 days, after 3 days, and 3 days, 3 nights mean the same thing. Now, that's because there are two biblical methods being employed here that we must always remember. One is the Hebrew way of counting time, and the other is understanding Hebrew idioms, manners of speaking, Hebrew expressions in the Bible. When counting days, the Bible generally uses what some call inclusive counting. This means you include as day one the day you start counting. For example, we see throughout the Bible in Genesis 42:17, it says that Joseph imprisoned his brothers for 3 days and released them on the third day. That is, before the completion of a full 3 days. Second Chronicles 10:5, the king says, "Come back after 3 days." Yet, in the same chapter in verse 12, it says that the people reported back on the third day just as the king had ordered. But in actuality, we just read that the king had said after 3 days, not specifically on the third day. The book of Esther, it tells how Mordecai was told to fast for 3 days and afterward go to the king. But then in the next chapter, in Esther chapter 5, says she went to the king on the third day. Genesis 17:12 says that a child is to be circumcised at 8 days old. But Luke 1:59 says Jesus was circumcised on the eighth day, and Luke 2:21 uses the expression when 8 days were accomplished. The Jewish Encyclopedia helps us understand this method. Circumcision takes place on the eighth day, even though of the first day only a few minutes remained after the birth of the child, these being counted as one day. So in Luke 13:32, Jesus uses this method of counting inclusively when he says that he will keep on casting out demons and healing people today, tomorrow, and the third day. So if we applied this method of counting by Jesus to his own resurrection, it would look something like this. So you have Friday crucifixion today, the Sabbath or Shabbat tomorrow, and Sunday the third day. As we see in Luke 24:21, on the first day of the week, that is Sunday afternoon, two men were walking on the road to Emmaus, and they were saying to each other, "It's the third day since all this took place." In other words, the crucifixion. So if we count backwards, we have this: Sunday, day 3, Saturday, day 2, and Friday, day 1. In Luke 24:21 again, the men were despondent because they knew that God, in Old Testament prophecies like Hosea 6:2, had promised to restore, quote, Israel, now represented by the Messiah himself, on the third day. I think they were also expectant because God had performed many miracles on the third day. In Exodus 19, Yahweh says to Moses, "Be ready because on the third day I will intervene with a miracle." Genesis 22:4, on the third day, Abram was told to kill Isaac. Later in Hebrews 11:19, the writer adds that this was a type of the resurrection of Jesus himself. And then John 2:1, on the third day, Jesus is said to have performed his first ever sign miracle at the wedding. Also see examples there in 2 Kings 20, and we just saw Esther 5. Now, all this was well known, by the way, by Paul when he writes in 1 Corinthians 15 that Jesus was raised on the third day according to the scriptures. So the phrase 3 days and 3 nights in Matthew 12:40 is understood as a Hebrew idiom. That is a way of speaking and not to be taken literally as we do today as a 72-hour period. Because, as we saw, any part of a day is taken as the entire 24-hour period, which obviously would include daytime plus nighttime. Thus, Matthew 12:40 again describes the same period of time as the other verses. That is, the third day, Sunday, as the day of the resurrection. This firmly places the crucifixion on Friday.